I just got off that bus. That's the number 7 bus. I'm in Liberty Lake at the Liberty Lake Transit Center. Not much to say about the transit center, is there? I mean, it's okay. But I didn't come here just to show another utilitarian transit center. So I'm going to be continuing into town, such as it is. So I was going to actually save this for later, but it was conveniently placed right when you come off the freeway, which is the main way to get to Liberty Lake. There's a Walgreens. There's a shopping center. There's Safeway over there with shopping plazas. A lot of this is pretty typical, you know, for a lot of U.S. suburbs / exurbs. And in general, I don't like to diss that because, you know, I shop at Walgreens too. It's sometimes nice and convenient to have stuff like drugstores close. I actually worked for Walgreens. I worked at Walgreens corporate headquarters in Chile, Farmacia Ahumada, Ciudad Empresarial, Huechuraba, in Santiago. And so, yeah, all that's nice. And so, like, when I'm going around, I'm talking about towns, a lot of times I'll say, like, hey, yeah, this town is nice. You can get everything. It's convenient. It's nice to have a little store on the corner, go in and get some snacks. But I've just been thinking about this lately. It's not what life is about. Life is not about having a shopping center close to your house and having conveniences. Now, what is life about? Well, I don't know. Your guess is as good as my guess, and while you're guessing your guess. So I've been through Liberty Lake before when I walked the Centennial Trail into Idaho, and I don't actually know if there's like a city center. So today I'm following this road. I know there's a post office on this road, which I want to hit up, and yeah, let's see what's actually here. There is a nice sidewalk here, or even footpath that's separated from the road. Nice one on the other side. So I do enjoy that, but this is part of my theme of the day. This is not what life is about. This is pretty clear from what I've seen right now. It makes sense. Liberty Lake is primarily and almost totally residential. I mean, there's commercial areas, but the purpose of the town is residential, as opposed to Spokane Valley, which has lots of residential areas, but also has a lot of that like old industry here. Don't know if anything like that exists exactly in Liberty Lake. So I'm coming to an intersection here. I actually checked the map. I went down the wrong road, so I actually have to take a left here and walk back into town, such as it is. Not that far. I just went on a road that paralleled the road I wanted to go to. So there's still a sidewalk. So just a slight detour. And as I said, this is a very residential area, so not a lot to report on as far as what I am seeing right now. There's the post office. It's relatively small for a town this size, so I'm going to go in there and send a card. Then there is also a library in this direction. I'm going to go check out the library and maybe ask them some questions. I don't actually know what that means. Like, Liberty Lake Portal, as far as I can tell, this is an office center, but maybe it's a gateway to another dimension. I just don't know. So this is the library. Looks very utilitarian on the outside, but as I've mentioned, a lot of libraries around here seem to spend more on architecture than on books, so maybe it's what I'm looking for. At the very least, they'll have a restroom, and I can maybe get a map or ask some questions. Maybe I should have said this yesterday for my Lincoln Park video, because in the end, I've just kind of walked in a big loop back to where I came from, and I could go back now, but there is actually more that I want to see. But one thing is, I don't think there's actually a city center of Liberty Lake. I don't think there's any like cute little shopping district with sidewalk cafes or anything in any form that I would call that what it was, because it isn't. The library did print me out a map, and so I'm going to walk south, and since this is Liberty Lake, spoilers, there is a lake, and that is my next destination. Here we have a footpath or a trail that goes south, and it looks like we're going out of town, but we are still in city limits. And apparently it kind of goes along the side of this golf course. There's like 3 golf courses close to each other right in the middle of town. I imagine that at some level this is a retirement community. That certainly makes sense from what we've seen. So what is life about? I raised that question earlier. For me, a large part of life is having outdoor experiences, natural experiences, and I don't need a whole lot of nature to do that. So right now I have a footpath and it's right next to a golf course, but for me this is perfectly cromulent. And the golf course is not what appeals to me. It's not my aesthetics, but sometimes people will talk bad about golf. Why? Because it's a hobby that we don't share. A lot of people who golf don't enjoy arguing with strangers on Reddit about trains, which is my number one hobby. I don't know if this is confirmation bias, but for some reason in the Spokane area, I've seen a lot more bird nests than I'm used to seeing. And one reason for that, I don't know if this is the case, but I've considered whether that is because west of the Cascades, like I was in Corvallis, a bird's nest like that wouldn't survive through the wetter winters. It would just rot and fall apart. So I'm kind of curious about that, and I don't know if that's been addressed otherwise elsewhere or if that's just something I'm imagining. A few hundred feet on, want to make an addendum to that last point because that was a perfectly round bird's nest, and if you can see that, it's difficult to tell whether that is even a bird's nest or whether that is, some type of mistletoe-like growth of, branches growing out because of fungus, or just where branches have fallen together and clumped together. But I do see a lot of those, and then I also saw that symmetrical bird nest we just saw. So that might deepen the mystery if you're really interested in bird's nests. There's another of the small cylindrical bird's nests. If I knew better, I could probably say what species it was, although sometimes birds and even mammals like squirrels will share nests year after year. So one of those things that once I start noticing it, I will keep noticing it, but I don't want to stop and take a picture of every nest I see or take a clip of every nest I see. Okay, well, this road is doing something, and I have to stop and figure out where I'm going from. Okay. Right there. So I am a little bit surprised because on the map this is all part of an incorporated city, but where I was walking before, and especially where I was walking now, it looks like I am quite outside of that. So the terrain and the settlement pattern is different than what I was expecting. So I'm turning off of that road where I came in, continues that way, and continuing this way, and lake access should be in a couple hundred feet. And again, it's kind of difficult to parse because there you see you have looks like a pretty dense apartment complex, and across the street you have nada de nada. Well, as you can see, we are almost there, and I hope there is some way to see the lake up close. I hope. So apparently from the map, ramp closed November 1st to February 28th. I wonder if on leap years, if they open it up on February 29th. Hopefully the ramp, even if it's closed, the area around the ramp will be open. This walk has turned a little bit longer than I thought it would, which normally wouldn't bother me. Big thing is, as I've mentioned a lot lately, right now it's like 3:10 p.m. So I'll probably be getting back to Liberty Lake Transit Center right as it's getting dark, and we'll be getting home, when it's really dark, especially today's Saturday and buses only run once every half hour. Well, this does not look promising. So, for future reference, it does look like this is a public facility, but this is definitely closed as far as I can tell. So this will be the denouement of our lake quest. I am going to try to get a good view of the lake from here. So I noticed this 8 days ago when I was in Cheney. This is a pathway. It's designated as a pathway, but it also looks like a shoulder of a road. So even though it's designated as a pathway, I don't feel any safer than if I was just walking on a shoulder. So this is the intersection where I went north to go to the post office and the library. So I ended up taking a figure 8 through Liberty Lake. And I didn't see all of the town, but I think I saw most of it, and certainly enough to give me an idea of what it is like here. So here's my question and kind of my thesis as I walk back through this part of the town. The strange thing for me is that Liberty Lake is close to places that have a lot of natural access, but in the town itself, there's not really a lot of natural access. There's not really a lot of commercial things or dining other than, there's a Walgreens and a Safeway and some other restaurants and stuff like that. But question for me, this does look like it's a community that's rather affluent. You have to have some money to live in one of those houses on the hill. And not every community is what I imagine it to be. And I'm not saying this just to be snotty, but like if you look at places like Camas and Paulsbo, even though that downtown is kind of a theme park downtown, I call it, it's still a place where you have unique options for dining, entertainment, stuff like, independent theaters or independent cinemas. And so the question is, if you have enough money to retire or, to live and work, in a town like this, why would you go to a place where, you don't have those options? It's, doesn't seem to be very efficient. If I had the money to live here and live in a place like this, I would want a place where I could go eat a gourmet pizza and drink a bottle of white wine at the same time. Maybe while listening to live music, do an art walk. And sometimes I make fun of those things because they're all kind of twee, but yeah, they are there. Anyway, so that's kind of what I'm puzzled about here. And there's a couple of answers. One of which is I might be overestimating the affluence of the community. Maybe this is just a bedroom community for people, who's still working and stuff and raising kids. The other answer is, and this is quite likely the answer, nobody asked me, if they want to, if you want to move here and play golf and have a semi-upscale supermarket, maybe that is the sunum bonum for some people. Maybe that's what life is about. But yeah, I was picturing something closer to the Whitefish experience, which Whitefish is a good comparison as far as it has that natural amenity right there, has several natural amenities. And this has a lot of nice little places. I do like these trails. I like the sidewalks. Had fun. In summer when the lake is open, it's probably nice to go down there. But yeah, I was thinking this would be slightly different. And that's just my review for today. Mystified whether those are nests or not. The other aspect of that is, as I've mentioned many times, visiting late November. Look at how bare the trees are now. Just a few ragged leaves hanging on. And kind of feeling low energy, and my trip is kind of rushed and cramped because of the lack of hours of daylight. So it might not be on my most positive note right now. Might feel a lot different if I was here in May or June. And then also along with that, this is, I think, the last place in Spokane County, or last incorporated city in Spokane County I can get to by the bus that I've covered in a video. So throwing this in for completionism, I guess. And related to that, without saying too much, I will be going on another adventure soon, and things will be changing. And you'll probably see that when it happens in a week or two. And until then, I'm probably covering some bits and bobs, but thank you for following me. And for now, I have a bus to catch going back to Spokane. So another aspect of this, as an addendum, postscript, this is Saturday, so the bus actually has hourly frequencies. I thought this line, the 7, which is the main line, would still be every half hour, but apparently it was only once an hour. And you can see the lights just turned on while I was recording. So have to wait another half hour here. Not bad by standards of a United States exurb, that you still have some type of Saturday service, but yeah, does make it a little bit harder to get to on transit, so I'll just be waiting here for another half hour before I jump on that bus. Then I'll be going home.